Om lokaha samastaha sukino bhavantu. May all beings be happy and peaceful. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Phoenix here. We're live. Good timing for this, too. Actually, there's been a lot of movement the last hour or so. Uh, let's get through the logistics before we get into the charts here. If you haven't already checked out the small cap superstars, I'm going to be pushing this for the next couple of months because this is the time when you really need to be researching these things. And this is when hardly anybody is actually paying attention. Definitely, I'm going to be putting a lot of money into these small caps. I'm just telling you, just saying right now. So, trade size spreadsheet also a great deal right now. I use this every single day, and the courses, of course. Um, I want to share something with you all because I had somebody give me a hard time the other day saying, "Oh, your C3 is free, but you just have to join MEXC." Yeah, it's really not all that much to ask, as a matter of fact. And I want to share this with you because this gives you access just by joining under my referral link and making a deposit. I'm not even asking you to trade if you don't want to, but just making a deposit gives you access to the C3. Now, I'm extremely in depth in this group. And just yesterday, I was sharing BTC is giving a long trigger, 10:43 a.m. This is just one example of several over the last couple of days. I gave triggers for ADA, I gave a trigger for sushi, I gave a trigger for near. I'm basically telling you this is when it's breaking out, okay? 10:43, where were we yesterday? It was somewhere around here, okay? Now, since then, what have we seen? Pretty big move up here. Okay, ended up going 2.5% for Bitcoin. That was Bitcoin. Ethereum obviously went much higher. So that's just, this is free right now. Like, I pay for groups just to track other traders and see what they're up to, and I pay, fair amount of money for that for less information. So it kind of pisses me off. And of course, I know that there are those of you in the group that do appreciate this. Um, and I appreciate you and I appreciate those of you that have been loyal. I'm not speaking to you necessarily, but those of you that are kind of like lingering in the shadows right now, this opportunity isn't always going to be here. In fact, I may close off some of these channels in the future and maybe close off all of it in the future because I'm really focused on making money more than anything else. As a trader, that's what's most important to me. And I've made some money in the last couple of days. Sunday was an interesting pump. We saw a lot of the alts started to go off, and that was a sign. That was one of many signs that Bitcoin was ready to really come up above 17K. I mentioned on the Friday live that 17K was going to be a critical level for Bitcoin, and watch that level, pay close attention. And when I give you a setup and I share with you, I say, okay, here's the level, here's what it could do. I'm painting it out for you, and I'm marking price labels. That what I'm giving you are where I would be making an entry, where I would be taking profits, and so on. So this is something that maybe you screenshot it if you see a chart that appeals to you, or you're tracking this altcoin and it seems like this could be a good setup. You see me set an alert. You see me, I'm basically sharing with you my moves before I make them. Okay, so pay close attention. And I'm not going to say this again. I'm not going to, I'm not trying to be hard on you all, but it's just that I want you to catch the moves too. It's not just for me. That's why I'm here doing this right now. And there are times where it's actually easier for me to just take the trades and not really care about anybody else. But again, I get more out of it if I feel that other people are benefiting from it. So hi Adam, hi Peter. Yeah, I mean MEXC, I don't know what people's problem is with this exchange. It's like you're zero maker fees right now, honestly. I know that there's a general suspicion about exchanges, but I've used a lot of them. I've used KuCoin, I've used Binance, I've used FTX. Of course, I got out of that a long time ago, but I've used a lot of them. And MEXC is my preferred exchange, and I haven't had a single problem with them yet. I'm not saying that there won't be in the future. I'm just saying that and of course, I'm very, very cautious with where I store my funds. As always, I don't keep on the exchange any more than I'm trading with. And so let's say that even if you had $100,000, that you're only going to be trading with maybe 40 to 50 if you're using proper risk management, maybe even could get away with 25K on there and just up the leverage. And this is where the trading size spreadsheet really comes in handy, because you can calculate your leverage based on, so if I know, okay, so let's just say that hypothetically, let's just say we're going to take a trade here for Bitcoin, which it is reaching a level of significance. Let's say that it gets down here, and I'm going to go through this in a moment here, but let's say that it comes down to this level, 17,150, and it bounces and we sort of catch it somewhere over here, take a long, and my trade is going to be, let's say that my stop loss, I only need a 0.5% stop loss. In that case, my position size is going to be a lot larger. And so what do? Double that. A 2x would be a 1% stop. You can move over in the columns and see, okay, what's the value? A 4x would be a 2% stop, right? And then an 8x would be a 4% stop. So it's the same trade, just using higher leverage, having less on the exchange. There's less risk to you. You may pay slightly more in fees, but then again, if you're setting limit orders on MEXC, then you're not paying anything in fees. How do you like that? So that's what I'm talking about with risk management. You can have a very small amount of money on the exchange relative to your trading funds, and have the rest maybe in cold storage or in the bank if that's your preference, or in precious metals as I'm doing here. And then it's not as risky. So, just something I think that I wanted to share with you all that maybe you'll find helpful. So let's look at the charts now and see what's going on, and let's see if there's going to be more upside. We had the push back above the mid level here for Bitcoin, this 17K. Obviously, you can see a lot of consolidation just beneath it on the daily. Now, we are getting an initial rejection, and I think a large part of this has to do with what we just saw with stocks in the last couple of hours leading into the close. I do not like this candle for ES. This is the chart that I'm paying the closest attention to. What we need to see here for a sustained rally for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the rest of the alts is we need to see a bounce at this precise level right here. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me that it came back down. Of course, this looks sort of ominous right now, and we did get some sell-offs into the close with stocks, a lot of very strong moves up to start out the day, but then that we lost a little momentum there. But now, if it bounces here and we get a push back up, then it's most likely headed up to, I would say, this level here, somewhere between 4,000 and 4,100. And again, this means more upside for cryptocurrency. Now, there's no guarantees with this, but as we've seen with these sorts of moves, I'm always talking about this. Here's your range. Here's your deviation back inside. Now, here's a potential retest, maybe pushes back up. Maybe it comes in, bounces off this trend line here, which if we zoom out, you can see that's a significant diagonal trend line there. But even if it does push up to 4,000, between 4 and 4,050 or so, then in that case, I think Bitcoin could surge to 18K. We might see a candle like that where it just goes up 1,000 or more in an hour. I would not be surprised to see that with Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. And maybe that would be the end of the rally. It's hard to say for sure, but I'm not calling this the bottom. I think that this is probably most likely going to top out maximum around 4,100. If it goes beyond that, I'd be surprised. I'd be pleasantly surprised. Okay. And in that case, we've got to look at Bitcoin entering into a longer term range, which I'll review here in a moment. Actually, let's do that now. So looking at the weekly, and I'm going to get to your questions here, but I just want to hammer out Bitcoin because Bitcoin is going to determine the rest of the market. If we just identify this, forget about all the lines for a moment here. Let's actually get rid of this for now. If we just look at this major range here, before the last leg down that we experienced, okay, we deviated below. Now, again, I've been sharing this with you. Sorry, that looks not so good. It gets back inside here. I'm thinking at least a retest of 18K, potentially back up to 18,200. That would be a second retest. If it fails, starts to break down, then I'd be looking for shorts. But what I'd like to see happen, I don't know why this tool is doing this right now. It's sort of choppy. If it fails to break down, it comes back up. Let's see, where's my other tool? Comes back up here and then starts to show. It's like there's a magnet on, but there's no magnet on. I don't know why it's doing that. It starts to come back up, then most likely we've got it coming back up to the mid level at the very minimum, which is somewhere around 21K, 21,500, and then potentially all the way up to 25K. Again, I don't think this is a very high probability move, but I would not rule it out at this stage in the game. And if that's the case, if that does happen, then what we can expect is for this to actually be potentially the accumulation range for Bitcoin. That's sort of the hopium, the hopium dose for the day. I think the more likely scenario, just because of this sort of stagnation in all these doji candles in this very weak, very dead market, I think more likely we'll be lucky to get back to 18K. But if we get there, then that's going to give the alts room to run higher, and especially those that haven't yet broken through, which a lot of them have, and some of them have really run. I mean, Lido just went insane the other day, and Solana. We'll get into those in a moment here, but Bitcoin's really going to dictate that. So what we're seeing right now is actually just a healthy pullback, I believe, unless it breaks down below. And let's bring the levels back up here. If it breaks down below, God, I have so many different. Okay. If we break down below 17,150, then we've got to be looking for potentially, if it starts to come down and show some weakness down here, okay, and then it breaks down here, that would potentially be a short trigger back down to this range low here at around 16,900. I don't think it's going to do that. I think the more likely scenario is that it pulls back. Maybe it comes down to 17,150 and starts to find support here, consolidates for a while, and then sometime today or tomorrow pushes up and really makes another push up. The resistance, it did hit some resistance at around 17,400, which you could see this here is sort of a mini supply zone if we zoom into that. And so that's expected initially. It's sort of rejected before, at the very early, at the very lowest point there. But the second time it may just break through and keep going. And in that case, we're looking at the next level of resistance coming in all the way up here, which is around 18. Again, it's 18K, 18,100. And that's breaching into this shaded zone. And you can see, again, there is a large inefficiency in here that could get filled. So it could push up. I wouldn't be surprised to see it push up and start to make an attempt and maybe even come up to 19K and then get crushed down after maybe a period of consolidation or a swift rejection. So definitely one thing that I've recognized in the last couple of weeks especially is that my trading style, I'm a swing trader. So I don't like this. This is not appealing to me because this is great for scalpers, right? It's a very tight range. It keeps bouncing back and forth. And this is a sign of what? It's a sign of a thin liquidity. Okay, I'm getting an alert on near. I'm actually take a look at this really quick because I want to see if it's worth getting back in this trade. So I had a long on near and had a nice long actually and took profits up here because it was showing some weakness, and now it's crossing back inside. This is just a smaller range. So potentially near, I think near is one of the altcoins that probably has more upside, but it could be limited. I was targeting, I'm going to share with you exactly what I was targeting here, but you see this wick here, this rejection wick on the 4H. It's still a little bit early on that candle, but on the 1H, it looks like we might be seeing a bullish engulfing, getting back inside this range. But so what I was targeting with near was this level here, about 173. And then you can see up a little higher, maybe around 170. I think I had 1775 as my second TP. So I think it's probably going to do that, but you have to assess like how much, I mean, and it could theoretically break through. That's actually what 𝐸TA did. I had a long on 𝐸TA and I was just targeting this zone, and then it just kept going and it didn't stop. 𝐸TA really went on a tear. But would I long 𝐸TA here? No, because I feel like it just had a it had a really strong run. And I do believe that upside is limited for a lot of these alts. And a lot of people are probably thinking they caught a good move, and they're going to hold on to it, and it's probably going to end up round tripping. And that just seems to be the most likely scenario. So my strategy here, I'm having to shift strategies and be a little bit tighter and snatch profits a little bit sooner and treat them more like scalps and treat the levels with more, if it breaks through a level, take profits. I mean, that's for me, not financial advice, but for me, I'm giving myself that advice because I had quite a few trades in the last couple of weeks that were in really good profit and then completely round tripped on me in a matter of an hour. And it was not fun. And this time around, actually, this was sort of the first time in the last maybe month or over a month where we've seen a strong enough move where I could actually take a trade that made up for about 80%. That one near trade made up for maybe 80% of my losses over the last month. And with Bitcoin now, I'm in profit on this one. I did take a long on Bitcoin, and but I took it down where I gave the trigger, which was down here. And why did I get a trigger on this? Okay, I'm going to go through this here. What did we see? What was happening? Now, I'll start out on the higher time frames and then drop down, but this was a critical level of 16,900. Why is that? Well, look, you see the range here on the 1H, just this point here. And even if you go back, you'll see this was a support. This was support, deviation back inside support, broke through, resistance. Okay, resistance, broke above, consolidating above, broke above with some strength, tried to break down. Okay, that looked pretty ominous, right? But then it started to hold. And then you see not just that, but another push back up. So this was where I got interested in this trade. And then I'm looking, and now that I see it holding as support, breaking above the level, now I'm going to drop down to the lower time frames and I'm going to see, okay, what's happening on the 15-minute? And what do we see on the 15-minute? Right here, this was the long trigger. And actually, I mean, I was giving the trigger here, seeing the consolidation, seeing these three white crows here. You see that this was the trigger for me, okay? And even if you hadn't gotten in there, you could have even been on the 5-minute and seen it happened actually in a 5-minute candle. But you see the strong momentum, and you could have even waited till this level here and still had a nice move up from there. So that was the trigger for Bitcoin in the rest of the market, and that happened on a Sunday. Ironically, we haven't been seeing a lot of strong moves on the weekends. And just when I said to myself, I'm not going to trade Friday, Saturday, Sunday anymore, all my alerts were going off. And so that's the benefit of having alerts set for a lot of these, because you just never know what's going to happen. Sushi had a very nice run. Sushi also strong move to the upside. And what was the trigger? This is a larger range here between 167 and 90.996. Okay, I was watching this very carefully, and actually a couple of times I tried to trade this earlier, didn't work out so well, but I got out of the trade, didn't lose a whole lot of money there. But then this time around, I thought, okay, so now it's breaking above and it's trying to break down, it's trying to do its thing. But then notice this candle right here on the 4H. Okay, when you see this pin bar at a place where it should be breaking down if it were obeying the range, but it did not. It completely rejected here. And then look at this size of this candle here, okay? Strong engulfing candle, even just on the 1H, bring us back inside, and then it comes back, retests, and holds, consolidates, making way for another move up. So there's your trigger, okay? And then targeting the mid here, which guess what? It wicked just above it, okay? This is the mid of this range here, between 150. I believe that's the mid there, between 150 and 0.992. Okay. And so now is sushi going to continue from here? I don't know for sure. I'm not going to trade this because unless it gets back inside. So if it gets back inside here, if we break back above at this point here, consolidates, pushes up again, then I would be potentially taking a long on sushi to this level here, this 124 level. 𝐸𝐴, yeah, I wouldn't trade this here because it looks pretty erratic. And that was those are some really massive 1H candles. I don't like to short something like this either, unless I see a pattern develop. It just turns into a gamble. So I want to see maybe over the next couple of days what 𝐸𝐴 does. It is nice to have it when it blasts off and it's in the clear blue sky, and then we have a pattern develop that's independent of all of the mess that predates it, if that makes sense, because then it can become tradable. But where it sits right now, I'm not interested in this. And I think we just covered near. So let's see. Ethereum. Let's look at Ethereum, because Ethereum was surprisingly strong over the last couple of days. And I mentioned on Friday that I wasn't interested in trading this because it wasn't as clean. But now we're actually getting to a place where I said if it breaks above 1,300, then I would consider the high probability that there's going to be more upside, given that Bitcoin can hold, given that the stock market holds. And again, also the Dixie is down today. The Dixie actually fell through support today. I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but these are giving us confluence for the other trades. So the Dixie came back below this weekly support level. Actually, look at this candle here last week. That's a pretty strong, that's usually a continuation sign. So that is what I call a pin up. And so the pin bar, the wick is pointing up, and it's in an existing downtrend, and you have a very small body, a very long rejection wick. That's a continuation signal. And so I think that the Dixie could realistically come down to this level, somewhere around 101 to 102. And again, that's going to give everything else room to run higher. So we have confluence with the Dixie and the S&P 500, and then and crypto is reflecting that. So, and the altcoins, of course, alts seem to be having a mini season here. I mean, look at what Lido did. I was watching this yesterday. Look at this hour candle for Lido. I mean, what in the hell is that? I don't know. I mean, geez, that's just wild, right? I think that this one candle spanned 67%. I mean, I don't know what that was about, but some shorts got completely liquidated there for sure, and probably some longs too when it came back down again. I won't trade this. This is garbage. This is a gamble. This is like going to the casino, and you can throw your TA out the window. Now we do see a pattern here, but even with this memory, I don't like this memory, so I don't want to trade it. It's more for entertainment purposes. But Lido would have been one to trade down here when it broke above this zone. And let's actually look at this on the 4H. When it broke above here around 124 and then came back and retested, actually didn't come all the way back, but then you see the strong candle pushing back up again. This would have been your entry for Lido for those that were paying attention. And I would have been targeting somewhere up here. I would have been targeting up here, maybe 178, but then it ended up going way higher. And you can't always anticipate that sort of a move, but congrats to those that caught this. If any of you were trading this, hi Manu, hi Adam. So feel free to ask questions if you have charts that I haven't looked at yet today. Let's look at BNB for a moment. BNB has also been a strong mover, not as strong as some of the other ones, of course, but it has a higher market cap, so that makes sense. Right now, where BNB sits, it's at the mid level of this, a little bit lower now. It's pulling back now, but if BNB pulls back to this level here, this 259.2, and then it starts to consolidate and push back up, then I would consider a long here. Otherwise, I'm not really interested. Even if it pushes up, from here to 299.6 and then it consolidates, then it's a potential long, but I don't really like the PA of BNB. So you get to pick and choose what you like, and I don't like this. It doesn't look clean to me. I've had some trouble trading this in the past. It doesn't. I mean, it is a range. It's an obvious range here, but where it is right now, I'm not. Yeah, it's not really of interest to me. But if it does get up to 337.2, then I'd be looking to see what's happening with ETH and Bitcoin, and maybe potentially looking for shorting opportunities. So that would be BNB. Either a long down here, or I wouldn't take this long here, but it's got, it could run back up once it gets back inside here, or I'd be looking for a short up at 337.50, given that Ethereum and Bitcoin start to break down. So let me be clear with you all. I don't think that this is the bottom. I don't think that this is going to be a rally that lasts for very long. We don't have the next FOMC meeting until February 1st. So, but then we do have CPI next week, and that's next Thursday. And so that's probably going to dictate what happens from between until the next FOMC meeting. So I don't know. It's hard to say for sure what's going to happen with that, but I think that there's gonna be a little bit more of a push higher from here as the Dixie comes down and as the S&P comes back up. So I do have some spot Bitcoin. I purchased that at 16,800. I won't be holding on to that for very long. I'm hoping to see a push up to 18. Hopefully, if it can get to 21K, great. If it starts to show weakness there and consolidate, and then I start to see it break down, then I'm out. And that's how you've got to play these moves here. No long-term plays. The shorter term, the better. And I'm not saying scalping on the 1 minute or the 5 minute, although maybe for some of you that's your style and that works, but you've got to be more conservative and not try and swing for the fences. The time to swing for the fences is either at the beginning, at the onset of the bull run, which I'm going to be very loud and clear about, which we're not there yet, or it's going to be at the start of the next bear market. And we've had a significant move to the downside for Bitcoin. We're pretty close to the bottom. Now, the bottom could still be 12K. I do think that I'm leaning towards a lower bottom for Bitcoin than 15.5 or wherever we were before. But it's hard to short. You can't expect there to be it to happen all at once. We've seen the big legs down already for Bitcoin. If we just look at this on the weekly chart, again, just getting rid of this. I'm always trying to give you all context because that is most important before you place any trades. Up here, you're swinging for the fences. If you can catch this and you can see, oh, this is a deviation, obviously, from this. Okay, now we're back inside, probably headed lower. Take a swing position here, great. Or here, right? Here, maybe this was a potential to take a swing. But now we're just sort of chopping around, and it's going to get less and less. The volatility is going to start to drop down. There will be some exceptions, but for the most part, what I notice when it gets this late in the game, at this phase of the markets, a lot of the trades that you take, they're going to be winners. For me, I'm going to be snatching up my winners and not holding on to those trades. There will be some that maybe it will continue to run, but I think that for me, the most profits come when I'm obeying my levels. I've got my plan. I'm trading according to my plan, and I'm taking profits. I don't even know what 𝐬𝐨𝐽𝐧 is. I don't. I'll look at it and see 𝐬𝐨𝐽𝐧. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, this looks pretty dead to me, but maybe it comes back. But I mean, just from a trader's perspective here, what do we got? What are we working with? I would say, yeah, it's like coming back to, it's retesting this range. So here's the major range that we're dealing with here. It did break above, filled a lot of this already. I don't know. If it were me and I were in this trade, let's say I'm not sure where, if I got in somewhere down here, I'd probably be have at least taken some profits at this point. If it bounces here, great. But if it starts to show signs, if it continues, I mean, this 1H candle is very telling to me and potentially a sign of more downside. So if it starts to consolidate, I'd be watching this very closely at this level. If it starts to show signs that it wants to break down, I'd get out of this trade. I would be out of this trade if it breaks, if it forms a pattern and breaks below, but it might move quickly from here. If it's, on the other hand, if it starts to consolidate and then show some support and bounces, then maybe there's more upside, but it looks like it already made its push here. And that makes sense that it would reject over here. Now, there is, you know, if it can break up, if it can come back up and move up higher, then there's a potential that it comes all the way up to maybe 38.50 or so. That would be where I would say it would max out. But not, I wouldn't be looking to long this here, that's for sure. And what else we got here? Gold. Yeah, gold looks good. I think that gold is gonna probably push up, probably wants to push all the way back up to 1960, maybe all the way up to 2000. Maybe it puts in new highs. Maybe, you know, we got below the range, back inside, pushing up now. Silver is disappointing me right now. I'm waiting for it to really start to push up. I feel like it will eventually, but so far it's sort of been stumbling around 23, between 23.50 and 24. So Matic, let's look at Matic here. Matic is reflecting Ethereum, and we're back not really in a place where I would want to trade this. But if we get it to come, if it comes back, maybe it comes back and retests down here. This is 0.8216, and it starts to hold here and then show some strength. Okay, in that case, I'd probably be targeting up here at around 94.943. So there it is there. There would be the potential entry. Could take profits along the way if you're entering down lower. Stops would be resting somewhere back below this range here, maybe below this consolidation. To be safe, could be somewhere down here, 0.7956. So that's a potential long setup for Matic. And Solana, I've been getting questions about Solana. I wouldn't long this because it's already made a very big move. I don't like to trade once it's already made the move. I like to try and catch it before everyone else does. So that's over 100% there in what, a week? Like a week, yeah, a week, almost a week, a little over a week. It's done that. So plus the fact that you have this zone here that it's probably going to hold up. If it can break through, like, so there's two places where I might be interested in a SOL long right now, which if it comes back down again and retests down 1483 and then it holds, consolidates, breaks back above, that would be a long trigger for me. Or if it comes up and it starts to consolidate here and then breaks above this level, which is around 1850, then SOL's really probably going to continue, I would say that's a continuation sign, much higher. Could go all the way to 30, could go all the way to, yeah, 30, 50 would be a pretty awesome target for Solana. But I wouldn't get your hopes up with this, because again, it's already gone up 100%. I think more likely, and it all depends on the timing with everything else, right? But more likely, Solana's probably going to come. It probably will make one more push up, but then it might even push up higher here to maybe 1950 or 20, and then it's probably going to start to come down. And then I'd be looking to maybe short it once it gets below, back below here. Short it back down, first level here, this 1490, and then back down to the mid, and then back all the way back down to 1089. So that's what I think it's probably going to do. So that's why I wouldn't long from here, because I think this is a limited upside move. But I would long if it came back down to 1490, and then we see a successful retest. I'd probably have it take profit somewhere up around 1780, and then see what happens from there. Does that make sense to everyone? Rune, I haven't traded Rune in a while, because it just, I made some good profits off Rune when we were earlier in the bear market. But when they've seen that, when you look at a chart, this is why I always start in a weekly and I look and I see, like, let's look at Rune for a minute. You see these points here, this is where it was fun to trade Rune. But then once it's already gone down pretty much as far as it's going to go. And some people would say, well, that means that it's probably going to go up, so I should long it at this point. Well, no, it's probably going to just continue to chop around in these really ridiculous little ranges here for a while, until the larger markets make up their mind. And that could be 3-6 months or more from now. And in the meantime, it's not really worth the time and energy to trade it. Like, from an accumulation perspective, this could be a great place to accumulate, but it's really hard to say that with any conviction before we see Bitcoin start to turn around, if that makes sense. People ask me about fundamentals, with Huobi and a lot of things, a lot of drama. I don't really, I'll read about it, but I don't give it a whole lot of weight, because again, as a trader, I'm focused mainly on the PA. I want to see how the price is moving, because the price is the ultimate tell. It's giving us the final indication of what the market wants to do. It's showing us how the market participants are reacting to the news. So it's kind of like when you read the news, you're focused on what somebody is saying and maybe their speculation about how people might react. But then when you see the price action itself, you're seeing the actual reaction of the people. So it just makes more sense, and it saves a lot of that mental bandwidth. And you can see here that I've looked at, I don't know, maybe 10 charts so far in this live, and I do this maybe a couple of times a day. And so that takes a lot of my mental bandwidth. So I don't really have a whole lot of time to be combing through and trying to figure out what might happen because of some news event. Sometimes it can be really helpful, but for the most part, it's just focus on the PA, especially right now, because there's just so many mixed messages out there, and the PA for Rune is not looking good. I mean, just right here, I mean, this could potentially be a shorting opportunity for Rune, but I don't like to trade these lower caps. This is actually one of, I'll give you a hint on this. This is one of my small cap superstars that actually made it through not just once, but twice in my reports for 2 cycles. I do think Rune's going to come back, but I'm not trading Rune right now, and I'm not considering accumulating Rune. So this could be a short. This could be a short down to 126 if it comes back down and shows support. But I think it's just going to chop around for for a long time, and I don't like uh, the unpredictability of the alts without the liquidity to back them. So Atom is one that I've been looking at. That notice what happens when we do have rallies. Then what are the alts doing relative to one another, and which ones are stronger? Now, Solana, we could say, oh, well, it's incredibly strong right now, but that was because there was a massive sell-off that led up to that. But Atom has been one that it's been consistently, when there is a push back up, it pushes up pretty strong, kind of like Matic does. And let's see, what would be another one? Near didn't push up quite as strong, but that's sort of a tell, right? And that might be an indication of how things are going to go in the next bull run. And if you track these over several weeks and months, then eventually you start to notice there are some that are much stronger than others. So Matic for me is at the top of the list as far as the higher cap altcoins go. I think that Matic has tremendous potential in the next bull run because I've seen it really just hover in a range, and not, it hasn't, if we just look at, okay, how much has this, that's too much there. How much has this dropped down since the bull run? And it's about 71% right now. But if you look at a lot of the other alts, we're looking at 80, 90, 97%. So it's held up stronger than most of the alts. And it actually never even came back down to retest down here, this 2022 low. It's pretty far from it right now. As a matter of fact, it's been just sort of, it's been consolidating in this range. So I think Matic is very strong. Atom is another one that I think is relatively strong, and it's come down about 76%. And that's sort of in line with Bitcoin, about 76%. And mind you, every single bear market that we've had so far, it's dropped down at least 85%. So, I mean, that would actually bring us down to $10,000 for Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but the last two, I can't remember what it was before that, but the last two bear markets, it dropped down between 85 to 87%. So, but Atom is holding up strong. It just broke above this weekly range here, and let's see where the resistance is going to be for Atom. So again, I wouldn't long this here. I would have longed it here had I gotten, and I actually did get the signal, but it happened while everything else was breaking out, so I didn't trade it. I like to stay in a handful of trades and size up accordingly so that I can really focus on those charts. So Atom is at a place where I would expect there to be some resistance, and I think that there's probably going to be a lot of resistance for Atom over here. And this is around 1187, between 1187 and 1230. And so I wouldn't long it from here, but if it came back down here and then it consolidated and it started to push up again, then it's probably going to head up to this zone here. So that would be a long trigger down. If it comes back down to 1056 and then we see take profit level around $12, somewhere between 1180 and 1230 for Atom. But yeah, I'm not really all that interested in this right here. So back to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's see what's happened. Not much since we started this live, but this is actually what you want to see. This is a healthy pullback, and even if it comes all the way down to 17,150, that's okay, no big deal. It's still not a sign of the end of this rally. And I think it's probably going to do that and then consolidate for some time. And hopefully it will push back up and try and fill more of this, try and at least make another go at 18,100. And then we actually have a stronger argument for more downside if it does reject strongly here like it did this time, because that would be the second rejection at this range low for this larger range for Bitcoin. So this level, this is why 18K, I've been putting it in all my videos. This is why it's very significant, much more so than 17K, although 17K was confirmation that there was going to be a high probability move for more upside for Bitcoin. Yes, we are live right now. I am a THORChain fan. I like THORChain. I like what they're creating. I'm cheering for THORChain. They're just they've come a long way in just the last year. So I really hope that they can turn it into something that is phenomenal and that a lot of people use. And that, of course, would really help Rune out a lot. But it's not an institutional play, I'll put it that way. And in the small cap superstars, that's one of maybe 3 that I threw in there that is definitely not an institutional play. And for obvious reasons. But I think that it's an oscillator for sure. And we've seen that with when you see a chart and you see these massive waves, it's big wave surfing. It's probably going to have another run up. Will it get all the way back up to 20 or 22? I mean, it could go to 100. It could go to 300 if, because of the deterministic nature of Rune, if it gets the use. But that's going to be a long ways out. Because, I mean, in the last bull run, trying to teach people about this, I made a video about this in the last bull run, and not a lot of people were paying attention. It was near the end of the bull run, but Rune is not easy to understand for the average crypto user. And so mainstream adoption needs to happen before we can expect it to even try and make an attempt back up again. But if Rune comes back up after accumulation, I would expect after accumulation, maybe sometime in this early summer, it starts to come back up here around $3, and then it breaks above. I'd probably be accumulating a massive amount of spot here. And that's just me personally. So this is, previous neckline, triple top, broke down, retested, broke down. So if it can get back above $3, then it's game on for Rune again. That's just from a macro perspective. Phantom, I don't know about Phantom. I really liked Phantom for a while. I didn't like Andre so much. That was the problem with Phantom. I did not like Andre, and after everything with Do Kwon, and you realize that the leader of whatever project, and he was like, he was the leader, but he wasn't, and then there was just all the drama, and then all the yield farms on Phantom that really weren't. I mean, but I did like a lot of the projects on Phantom. I'll give it that. I think that wasn't Reaper. Reaper was on Phantom or is on Phantom, and what was the other one that I really liked? Beethoven X. It's really incredible decentralized exchange. So will that come back? I think that, I mean, they're gonna be successful regardless of what chain they're on. But yeah. So what is Phantom doing? I haven't looked at this chart in a while. Okay, so it looks promising that as far as more upside goes. If you'd have caught it down here, that would have been great, but it was sort of looks like a quick reject. Actually, this could be a possible entry level for Phantom to trade it to the mid or just a short-term trade. And you could see that makes sense that it sort of consolidated and toppled over at the mid level there. Will it make another push up? If the rest of the market does, there's no holding Phantom back. If it can come up here and then probably push up back up to 0.258. But I'm not really interested in taking a long here. If it comes back again, if it comes back down, we're trying to catch it at the extremes. This isn't really it's not all that far off considering the size of this range. I mean, this is a larger range. So if, this is still a 3.5% move to here, and then we've got over 9% up to this 0.2587 level. And again, just if you're interested in these, then just screenshot it and see these are the levels where this is where I'd be maybe looking to take along after. But if that's assuming that it actually does come back, which right now it's, yeah, it might do that. So patience is definitely in order here. I'm glad that I exited my near long up here. Is now it's really pulling back, and it may come all the way back down to 159. So if that happens, it may come back down somewhere over here, consolidate here, and then we get another push up. That would be the formal retest of this breakout here. So we had the breakout, and then we get the retest, and then back up again. So I'm paying closer attention to near right now, and Bitcoin maybe would consider compounding this Bitcoin position if I like this, if I like the price action when it comes back down to 17,150. So Ethereum, I don't think that I don't want to trade this here, but if Ethereum comes back up above, I did mention that 1300 was a critical level, and it broke through pretty swiftly, but if it comes back above here, this is 1350. This is a monthly level. If it comes back above here and starts to hold, and then I'd be looking for signs of a breakout. So that's around 1360. Well, it just depends on how it consolidates, but if it breaks back above here, then you've got all this for it to move back up, potentially all the way back up to 1480, 1500, maybe beyond. At the rate that Ethereum has been going at so far, it wouldn't surprise me. It's really, you can see these waves. I mean, a big, strong move, consolidation, really not a massive correction, and then another sort of move up, consolidation. Big, strong move up here, though. So it needs time to really settle, and that's what we're seeing right now. So this is a healthy uptrend, and it's a local uptrend. It's not like a longer term uptrend, but this is a healthy uptrend for Ethereum. So I think that consolidation here would be a good thing, but I wouldn't be longing this until it got above 1350 and really held that, because then it's a clear blue sky above, if that makes sense. So I'm probably going to hop off here unless there's any other questions before. I hope that you guys found this useful. It's been 52 minutes now. Wow. There's a lot to talk about these days. I mean, there is movement, and it is tradable. And so don't get discouraged if, we all have days, maybe even weeks, where you have drawdowns and you think, am I really meant to be doing this? Is this market even tradable? I mean, I know I've had that definitely over the last month or so. But days like, yesterday, today, there's enough movement to trade it, but you've got to be careful and be on guard and be alert. And once you take a trade, don't expect that you're going to be able to ride it out for another couple days or weeks or however long. This isn't a swing trading environment, at least not yet. We're going to get back into that. Those are, it's great when you get that, but it's a good practice in taking profits. And that's why I have all these lines on these charts, because when I place a trade, I know exactly where do we take profits: support, resistance, supply, demand, right? Just basic. Oh, that's my son. I'm gonna have to give him a call here in a minute here. Litecoin. Yeah, I'll do Litecoin, and then I have to go. Hold on a second. I'm going to answer this. Hey, can I call you right back? Yeah, what's up? I'm on a live right now, buddy. Okay. Okay, after I'm done. Okay. Bye. He doesn't have any, he has no acknowledgement of anything. He's just He needs something and he needs it now. And that's what it is to have children. Okay, Litecoin. Let's see what's going on with Litecoin. Is this? No, that's not Litecoin. This is crypto cap. We're looking at the market cap. Okay, so. Ooh, yeah, Litecoin could be breaking out here. That's interesting. Yeah, so this, I would be watching. Yeah, thanks for that. I wasn't paying any attention to Litecoin. Litecoin looks like it's breaking above a weekly level. If we look at this on the weekly chart, what's going on here with Litecoin? Yeah, this is a weekly level here. And it's starting to make another push up. Litecoin could really move because you've got all this clear blue sky over here all the way up to maybe 96, 98. And right now it looked like it broke above with some strength. This is a healthy pause, a consolidation, dropping down. If we see some wicks, we see it start to hold here. I would personally wait for it to clear with some strength. Clean break above this 82.65. And I'd be looking at that on the lower time frames. So like a 15-minute. I'd be looking for a nice strong, a candle like this with some follow through, right? And so maybe setting an alert here. Add an alert for Litecoin, and then it breaks above here, and then the sky's the limit for Litecoin. So that would be a trigger zone for me for Litecoin. So yeah, that's all I've got for you all today. Sorry for the interruption. My son is he's calling me again. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Please like the video if you haven't already done so. It does help it to push it out to more people. And there's lots of links in the description if you want to support my work. So I'll see you on Wednesday, probably around the same time.